Hey folks, we're sponsored today by Squarespace. Squarespace is the all-in-one way to make the perfect website. Domain names, custom design, and customer support. If you want to set up a great website, Squarespace takes care of it all. We've gotten a lot of feedback from our listeners who use Squarespace, and they tell us they love it because it's customizable. It makes professional-looking websites. They love the fact that it's mobile-ready, so your site looks great on mobile devices, and that it's so easy to update. If you want the fastest way to create a high-quality website or blog, you have to use Squarespace. And you can even set up a store using Squarespace and sell stuff from your site. For a free trial, go to squarespace.com, click Enter an Offer Code under Pricing at Checkout, and use the offer code WTF6. That's WTF and the number 6. Squarespace, everything you need to create an exceptional website. That was a lot of S's. And when you have a little lisp, that sounded bad in my headphones. Squarespace.
Lock the gate!
All right, let's do this. How are you, what the fuckers, what the fuck buddies, what the fucking ears, what the fuck nicks, what the fuckaholics? This is Marc Maron. This is WTF. I am still in New York. It is thick, man. It is thick in New York City. But it's weird. I haven't been here alone in a long time, and I love it. I love going out in the street when it's disgustingly humid and just seeing how it completely beats everyone down. There's nothing like walking through New York City in the middle of summer where people, their clothes are exhausted. Their hair is exhausted. Their shoes are tired. They look like they have given up. Everybody looks like they're on a walk of shame of some kind. And for some reason, to me, it's bonding. I'm like, look at it. We're all exhausted and we've all had enough. And we're just kind of plodding through the day. And also because of the humidity, it creates an almost kind of a zombie-like effect in you. I don't know what it would feel like to be a zombie, but you kind of slow down. And because I don't get high anymore and I don't do drugs and I don't drink, there's a kind of euphoria to the type of exhaustion that humidity causes. So I'm thrilled to be in New York in the middle of this disgusting summer, and I know it's going to get worse, and I do feel bad for New Yorkers that they're going to have to go through that. Today on the show, I have the amazing Cheech and Chong. I couldn't have been more excited to talk to them in my garage. I couldn't even believe it was happening. I mean, come on, Cheech and Chong? Are you kidding me? Who doesn't love Cheech and Chong? How can you not love Cheech and Chong? I'll tell you a little bit about the experience and about my past experience with Cheech and Chong, because I think, like, not unlike a lot of us, I mean, Cheech and Chong was one of my first exposures to comedy. And let me just tell you, folks, we're 401 episodes in, and WTF is looking like a pretty good decision on my part. Can I say that? Our sponsor, LegalZoom, wants to help you make those decisions and take the next step with your business. Whether it's in your garage or your office or your own shop, LegalZoom helps you register trademarks, incorporate or form an LLC, and apply for copyrights. Just go to LegalZoom.com, and they'll take care of you from start to finish. About 1 million businesses have already relied on LegalZoom, and WTF is one of them. And for a limited time, get a special price on LegalZoom services by using the referral code MARON at checkout. Protect your creations and launch your dream at LegalZoom.com. And don't forget the fine print, folks. LegalZoom is not a law firm, but they can provide self-help services at your specific direction, or they can connect you to an attorney. That's LegalZoom.com. Don't forget to use the referral code MARON. So, anyway, Cheech and Chong. One of the first records I had as a human being was Los Cochinos, 1973. That's about when I had that record. That was the first record I got, and then later I got Big Bamboo, and then I got the Wedding album, and I had Sleeping Beauty, and then I drifted off. But man, me and my brother sitting around that little record player, the kind that was all one, and it looked like a briefcase, a little briefcase record player, listening to Los Cochinos. I can't even remember what the cut. I think class, shut up. Oh, up his nose it goes. Remember? Chabornik, the dog poop bit. Oh man, it was great, and that was one of the first times I ever heard comedy being done. And also, Jimmy Walker said an interesting thing to me. He said that that Cheech and Chong were really the ones that broke open modern comedy on album. And I never put them into historical context. And I'll tell you, I had one of the greatest conversations with these guys. I think about it a lot since I've done it. And it was just sweet because I was so surprised at their story. And I think you're going to dig it. But let me just tell you a little bit what's going on with me, if I could, if you're still listening. And I think you should be. I'm going to be on David Letterman's show tonight. I'm also going to be on the Craig Ferguson show tonight. This New York trip that turned out to be sort of a fluke and a mistake, turned out it's lucky I did it. I was supposed to tape Letterman on Wednesday for Wednesday night. Then they decided that they were going to try to get a hockey player, I believe, so they wanted me to tape Tuesday to run on Thursday night. Now, the weird thing about this whole thing was I came down here, as you know, a couple days early because of the problem in Buffalo. So I decided that I wanted to do a version of the Mel Brooks story that some of you know from my podcast, and I've done it on stage a couple times, but I thought it'd be a great way to sit with Dave for the first time doing panel and, you know, connect with him and have a nice through line. But that story runs about 10 minutes. So what I did was I went out to a couple of comedy rooms. I went out to Littlefields in Brooklyn, Wyatt Cenac show, and he put me on, and I tried to trim that story down. This is sort of the work of a comic, and it's certainly the work of a comic that has to do with television appearance. If you're doing stand-up on television and you got to do 4.5 minutes, that's hard, especially if it takes 4.5 minutes for you to even get an audience to like you, like myself. So to cut down an actual conversational story, I had to shave about 5 minutes off that thing. So I went to Wyatt's show, and that was very exciting because I did the set, and Questlove was hanging around, and Wyatt had to do a show. I went to the UCB after that, and Wyatt was going to go with me, and Questlove was hanging out. So we all went in Questlove's car, and you know me. I mean, around musicians, it's a whole other world for me, and I was thrilled to be able to hang out and talk to him, and hopefully we'll get him on the podcast. But then I went to that other show, and I tried to trim it down even more. Now, the ironic thing about what happened for me leading up to the Letterman is there's this comic, Adam Newman, who's a New York guy, and he was running his set to do his first Letterman for the Thursday night show. So he was going to tape on Tuesday. And at the time I was running my set, I was taping Wednesday. So I met him for the first time, and I told him that's why I was in town. He told me, yeah, he's doing it. You know, he's going to be doing it Tuesday for Thursday. And I'm like, great. And he's asking me for some pointers. You know, he's doing stand-up for the first time. And I told him to look at the camera and to, you know, if he thought to, and, you know, and to pace, you know, not worry about it because the audience is so hot. So we had this nice conversation. I'm helping him out. And then I get the call the next day that they want to put me on Wednesday. So I'm like, who'd they bump? And then my manager says they bumped Adam Newman. I'm like, oh, my God. I feel so horrible. This guy's doing his first Letterman set. And I just met him, and I'm the guy that bumps him. I had no control over it, but I felt bad because I know how that feels. It's hard not to be pissed off when you get bumped because you get so jacked up. And I genuinely felt bad for this guy. But they gave him another date, and he was cool. I interacted with him on Twitter. But I knew I wasn't the enemy. But if I were him at that point in my career, it would have been hard for me not to hate me. Honestly, it's still hard for me not to hate me. Different context, but you know what I mean. So the experience of doing Letterman was that, like, I now didn't have another day. I was told I was doing it that afternoon. I luckily had bought a sports jacket and a shirt. And I'm familiar with this, you know, the setup over there. And we went over, my manager and I, and you literally go up in the tower of the Ed Sullivan Theater. The dressing room, I don't know where it is, but it's like on the 6th floor. And the stage entrance is down on 1. So you're in this little tower, in this little room, and you have no sense that you're really in a theater. You know, there's a monitor there, there's some cookies, and I'm hanging out, and you wait, and you watch the show. And I'm on the show with Johnny Depp. And I'm sitting in that room, I'm dressed, I'm jacked, I'm watching Dave. I know it's the second show he's taping today because they do that. They do 2 shows in one day. And, you know, I know it's probably tiring, and I'm watching him. I'm trying to get a sense of his energy. And you got to understand, I've loved David Letterman since he came on television. And then he brings Johnny Depp out for 2 segments, which is fine. He's Johnny Depp. I get it. But they talk about because of the Lone Ranger and Tonto, they get involved in a conversation that's really about the genocide of the Native American people in this country and the decimation of their cultures. But it was pretty heavy. Yeah, and Depp was talking about how he tried to, honor the Native Americans, how he spent time with Native Americans, that his portrayal of, of Tonto was a heartfelt tribute. On some level, if Hollywood really wanted to pay tribute to the Native American people, I mean, they could have had a Native American play Tonto, but that didn't come up. But nonetheless, it was some heavy shit. But now, like, right when Johnny gets done, I got to go on, and Biff is supposed to come get me. So Biff comes up. And he's like, you ready? And I'm like, yeah, I'm ready. And then the elevator's not there. Like, we got to wait like 3 minutes for the elevator. I'm like, I guess they're going to wait for me. So we're in the elevator, and then someone radios Biff. It's like, where are you? And Biff says, we're coming out, but we're not. We're still 3 floors away. And then I hear the guy on the other line go, 30 seconds. And Biff's like, okay. And I'm like, wait, you were 30 seconds till I'm going on? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, we're not even there yet. So it was crazy. So we get off the elevator, and we're counting down 15, 14, and I'm like set up. I'm right backstage there. And then I hear him do my intro, and then all the applause is happening, and then I'm walking out. Literally like 20 seconds after I got off the elevator, I wait 2 seconds with Biff, and then I walk out on stage, and there I am sitting next to David Letterman for the first time in my life, looking him right in the face. I was nervous, and I was raw, and I wanted to connect with David Letterman, and I felt like, once I got the story going, he asked me about podcasts and whatever, but it was a very genuine conversation. I was thrilled that there was some real engagement. A lot of times you get caught up in the pace because everything gets very heightened when you're out on stage and there's cameras. You'd like to think it's just you talking to a guy, but we're in the Ed Sullivan Theater. There's about 400 or 500 people there. You can barely see them. You see cameras. You see Dave. It's heightened. Yes, I'm just talking to a guy, but it's show business. I've done it enough to where I'm comfortable like that, but you get that feeling that every moment is just lit up. Every moment is electric when you're sitting there engaged on television and you're talking to David Letterman. And I was nervous. I think that if you look closely, you might even be able to see my hand shaking a little bit. And I'm not a handshaky kind of guy. But I got laughs, and I think it went good, and he seemed very happy, and the people there seemed happy, and I felt thrilled. Yeah, and, I walked out of there and just right out onto the street, and there were hundreds of people waiting outside the stage door, clearly to see Johnny Depp. But that's okay. I walked quietly away and, walked back towards my hotel with my manager, and one guy came up and said, will you sign my picture of you? The subtext of that is, so one day maybe I can sell it for something on eBay. But it was nice. And then I went out to dinner with my buddy Brendan. We went to Scarpetta, and Mr. Conan took care of us. And it was a nice night in New York. And I hope you enjoy that show. And while you're listening to this today, I'm probably taping the Craig Ferguson show, and I'll try not to wear the same outfit. So that said, you can never have enough sex in your life. Whether it's by yourself or with others, it's important to keep it interesting. I mean, you could stick to your routine. Sure, you could do that. You could do that predictable thing. You could find the clip that you're using right now, or you could do it in that same position that you always do because you found comfort in that. It makes sense to you. You get what you need from those things, from consistency, from predictability. Or you can go to adamandeve.com, and I'll get you 50% off almost any item with a free bonus gift, 3 free DVDs, free shipping, adamandeve.com. Enter WTF at the checkout. Get yourself something fun. Get yourself something new to look at. Get yourself some new stuff to put on yourself so you can make yourself feel good. Get yourself something that you can, maybe wear in front of the person you're about to do something with so they go, what is that? And you go, I don't know, but I'm going to turn it on. Do something for yourself. Do something for the person you're with. Do something with your thing to make it feel different. All right? You know what I'm saying. adamandeve.com. 50% off almost any item. Free bonus gift. 3 free DVDs. Free shipping. adamandeve.com. Enter WTF at the checkout. Okay? We good? Let's talk to Cheech and Chong. Yeah, I got to be honest with you, man. It's a fucking honor to have you guys in here.
Yeah, I know.
I was listening to the records. I got the old records. I listened to, when I was probably about 13 or 14, Los Chochinos. Me and my brother used to sit there and listen to that.
Sure.
And, but what really sparked my excitement recently was I was talking to Jimmy Walker.
JJ Jimmy Walker.
JJ Jimmy Walker. And I get a lot of guys in here talk about comedy, Bud Friedman, everybody, Jimmy, Richard, Lewis, all those guys. And he said that you guys were the guys. Because a lot of people say, like, Carlin or Robert Klein or whatever. And he said, no, man. Cheech and Chong changed the entire fucking game. Yeah. Because those records made college kids like stand-up.
Yeah, that's it.
Now, what year was that first record?
72.
72 was the first one.
Yeah.
And you guys, like, I used to do that. I was a doorman at the Comedy Store. So you guys,
really?
Yeah, back in 86, 87. But, they got all those pictures over there.
Were you there with Kennison?
My experience with Kennison was I did my graduate work in chopping lines for Sam. So, my job was strictly like, do you got the shit? All right, so I'd chop it, and then I hand it back over to him, and then he'd share it with everybody else. So I was that was how I did my work with Sam Kennison.
And Mitzi was coherent at that time.
She was still coherent enough to tell me when I auditioned for her that I should wear a scarf.
Sam Kennison moved in next door to me at the beach.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
In Malibu?
In Malibu.
Oh, how was that for you? Did you have to call the cops?
No, I never told him that he lived next door to me because there was like a big wide field, and then like the next house was like,
right,
not even a quarter mile away.
Yeah.
So that was his house.
Right.
I didn't need no 4 a.m. calls. You got a cup of dope?
Yeah. Yeah. What are you doing, man? You up? Yeah. Well, so you grew up, both of you grew up here? You didn't grow up here, but you grew up around here?
I grew up right here, where we're talking in Highland Park. My parents lived in Highland Park for a minute before we moved to South Central.
Oh, you moved up in the good neighborhood.
Were they in the Highland Park gang?
No, I was 2.
Yeah.
Oh. No, but your parents.
Oh, yeah. They were the Highland Park gang.
That was all of them.
Los Highland Park gangos.
The Avenues. The Avenues.
The Avenues, that's the one.
They're out here.
My dad was a policeman.
I was explaining to my son when we were driving here, that Highland Park. Are you kidding? He says, is this East L.A.? I said, don't ever tell anybody from Highland Park that this is East L.A.
Oh, no.
What was how many kids in your family, though?
There was me and my 3 sisters. I had twin sisters and then a younger one.
And what'd your old man do?
He's a cop.
Really?
LAPD, 40 years, 30 years.
The whole time?
The whole time.
Yeah. I told you he was in a gang.
Yeah, he was in a gang. My uncle Rudy
the biggest gang.
Was the head of the gang. He was the first Chicano captain of LAPD.
No kidding.
And the station in Hollenbeck. It was Hollenbeck. It's now named after him, the Rudy de Leon station.
No kidding.
Yeah, I dedicated it.
So now you didn't grow up here?
No.
Where'd you grow up?
In Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Sergeant Preston.
Calgary, Alberta. I've been up there. Not a lot.
It's North LA.
Yeah, very north. Not a lot going on up in Calgary, though, right?
Oh yeah. Lots.
Sure.
When there's nothing to do in a town, that means there's tons to do.
Yeah, because you got to make your own shit up.
Well, it's all illegal,
Yeah,
it's all under,
yeah,
the underbelly of the Christian right wing area.
Yeah.
He found the only black people in Alberta and hung out with them.
Did you?
Yeah, absolutely was true.
But you didn't start. You started in music.
Yeah, I started in music.
Yeah,
really young. I was about 10 years old when I started playing
guitar.
Yeah.
And the dream was to be a musician.
No, the dream was to get a beer.
Yeah, that was the whole thing.
No, the dream was to. Actually, I was a good backup guitar player.
Yeah.
So I always had people asking me to play and back them up.
Yeah.
So I never really wanted to be a lead guitar player.
Right.
And so I really didn't decide I wanted to be a musician until till grade 11, when I was having a hard time with algebra.
Yeah, sure, man. Got to get out of that shit.
And I said,
math ain't gonna help me.
No, I got to hit the street. I want to be a blues player, so I got to get into the ghetto as soon as I could.
So you went to the ghetto of Calgary, Alberta.
Well, actually, I got kicked out of Calgary.
Yeah.
It's a long story, but I ended up in Vancouver.
That's a good town.
That was the ghetto.
The long story is they told him to leave town. The mayor.
We've all decided. The elders of Calgary, Alberta.
No, what happened?
Yeah.
I've always been community minded,
Sure.
Since I was really young. I don't know. It's just something in me. So when we started a band, but we had nowhere to play.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of hooked in with this boys club of Calgary.
Sure.
And so I said, then they said, well, you should start your own teen club.
Yeah.
And so I started.
Say the last words.
So I started a teen club, a dance club, and we got the Legion Hall in Calgary, to play every Friday and Saturday.
That's a regular gig.
If we only had a teen center, man, we wouldn't get in trouble, you know.
And that's what it was. We had a teen center. But what happened? We got so popular because we played. We didn't just play.
You playing top 40 stuff or what?
No, we didn't play rock and roll. We played rhythm and blues.
Oh, okay.
Because I had a black singer.
Yeah.
And the porters that worked the trains used to bring the records up from the States.
Right.
They were called race music. It wasn't sold in stores, and so we learned all of Bo Diddley and
sweet, man.
Eventually Chuck Berry, but it started out with Bo Diddley and Muddy Waters and all those tunes.
It was like pre-Rolling Stones. The Rolling Stones were going to the same thing in England, but this was like
we were before that.
5 years earlier.
And so we had this killer band.
Yeah.
And we were playing what everybody thought was original music because they'd never seen it before. And it was a teen club. And so we were immune from prosecution from the cops.
You mean from segregation and stuff?
No, from the police.
Yeah.
Because, anytime you open anything in Calgary, they close you down, because you're a public nuisance.
Right, but the kids are having a good time.
Your black guys hanging out with teenage girls. That's what they do.
And so what would happen, we would play the dance.
Yeah.
And then after the dance, we'd have the hordes of teenagers with nothing to do.
Sure.
In Calgary, there's nothing to do. The only thing you could do was find where a girl was babysitting, call it a party, and 300 people would show up and just devastate the house with the booze and be fighting on the lawn and be fighting inside the house.
Sure. The kid that they're babysitting's gone.
Everything. And so the mayor, the cops couldn't close us down because we were a teen club. We were a chartered teen club.
But everybody got along really well. The race relations were really good. Like say stuff like, "Hey, darky, you got a light?"
There was that. Calgary was a hotbed for racism.
Well, it's a cowboy town, right?
Those days.
I've been up there. Still like that. What was your dream initially? I mean, how'd you get in? What were you going to do?
I was a little Catholic schoolboy.
Yeah.
But I was always into music. I mean, the first time I was in the school play, the Christmas pageant in kindergarten, I played the kettle drum.
Yeah.
And you couldn't, and a big star on my head, big star like that with paper band, and I was supposed to, and all you could see this little hand coming over, boing, 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 and that's, man. And as soon as the lights hit me, I knew, hey, show business is for me. And so but I was a singer early, and I made my first record when I was 5 years old.
What was the song? Was it in Spanish?
Yeah, Amorcito Corazón, Amorcito Corazón, yo tengo tentación de un beso. Yeah.
So it's sort of bizarre to me that both of you, you had music dreams.
Yeah.
And then you ended up how did you end up not being the Rolling Stones? I mean, Tommy, it sounded like you were on the cutting edge there.
Well, I was never musically trained, properly trained. I learned everything by ear.
Right.
And so even the band, we never knew enough music to count the tunes in. We'd just look at each other and say, ready? Okay. And then we'd start the music.
Right.
And then we were so good that summer we got offered a gig at Boness Park in Calgary.
Sure.
In fact, we took out Gordy Schultz's band.
Gordy Schultz. Who the hell is Gordy Schultz?
Gordy Schultz is the guy that Cheech met when he was up in Calgary.
Yeah. I moved to Calgary.
Wait a minute. So, all right. So this is where the magic starts, right?
Yes, it is.
So you're a LA guy.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm going to Canada?
Yeah, I was in college, and my last semester, and I got heavily involved with the draft resistance movement and became one of them. And so I turned in my draft card, and I didn't recognize their authority over me, and I did a lot of demonstrations at the draft board. And
what's 66?
This is 67, 8, right?
67, 67.
68, I think I graduated.
Did you go march and shit?
No, we'd go naked in the we'd go in the draft induction center downtown Broadway, and the night before we'd take acid and paint ourselves body, drop acid, not bombs, LBJ, kiss here, put arrows pointing their butt, and so we'd get in there, and they would start their talk, and we would at some point take off all our clothes, except for our cowboy boots and our underwear,
right,
and go running around the draft center, tell, hey, you don't have to go. And so they frowned on that.
So you down here, because you were in Los Angeles, the whole drug culture was like on you.
Yeah. It was exploding.
And how old were you in 67?
I was
17.
67. I was 21, 20. I was just my last semester of college.
So you dropped a lot of the good acid.
Yeah, really good acid. Well, what happened is, I took a pottery class my last semester, and it was just to fill in the thing.
In high school?
No, in college.
Okay.
In college.
Yeah.
And I'm
to meet a chick, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was to meet a chick. I'm standing in line, to fill out my card, and this really cute chick had my eye on.
Yeah,
she goes, I said, what are you taking? She goes, oh, I'm pottery. You should take it with me. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll take it.
And so I did, but I was always an artist in search of a medium.
Sure.
And I couldn't draw, and so I got into pottery, and my Mexican genes came bursting out, man. Like I flipped out. Pottery was my deal, and I quit everything else, quit my job, quit all my classes, and just made pottery like 12, 15 hours a day.
On the wheel.
Spinning
that shit.
And then I got in really tight with my professor, and he saw I got a live one in the corner, man, so he gave me the keys to the thing, the pottery lab, and I would and so anyways, that coincided with all of a sudden, the first draft resistor started getting sentenced to 8 years in Leavenworth.
Right.
And so because Hershey was director of the draft, issued this directive that anybody who did any of the things that we did would be immediately reclassified, drafted, and sent to Vietnam, the front lines of Vietnam. That was his take. So it was totally illegal,
right?
But I have to go through this crap. And so I said, I'm splitting. And so my teacher said, well, I got this ex-student up in Canada, and you might be able to help him. So that was sent to the journey. But he was outside of Calgary.
Wow. So who was the ex-student up there?
His name was Jerry Kaufman.
So you were going to go help him be in his pottery studio?
Yeah, he was going to start a pottery studio, so I went up to help him, and he had a wife and a kid, and I'd never seen snow before, much less 50 below.
And any snow they sell, they pile it on their car.
Yeah, like a little snowman, like a hood ornament. You go up to Big Bear and you come back, it'd be melted by the time you got down to the bottom. And I did that, and it was like outside of, it wasn't even in Calgary, it was outside of Calgary, Bragg Creek. And so I was his assistant. And then when we got his pottery together, he couldn't afford to hire me. So he said, well, there's this other potter who lives back, 11 miles back in the mountains.
You were being turned out by the pottery guys.
Yeah.
This kid will work for nothing.
Sure. So he said, there's this other guy, and his name was Ed Drahanchik, and he's a very famous potter. He'd won the Bicentennial Exhibition Award the year I got there. He says, maybe he needs an assistant. So that's all I needed. I got up in the morning, put my boots on, started walking.
You were a pottery guy.
I was in the Zen zone,
Do you have any of the pots?
Yeah, sure.
Do you ever get the urge to get on the wheel?
Yeah, but I lay down and it passes,
Yeah.
it's
So
you had a studio at one time.
I did at Malibu when I moved. My wife got a studio, bought me a kiln and a wheel, and it's so time intensive. You got to be there. You got to throw the pots. You got to dry them. You got to biscuit.
And you got to have nothing else to do.
You got to have nothing else to do
because you got a kiln. You got stuff in the kiln. That thing could blow up.
I mean, it's like you got to be there.
I got a friend his wife's a potter, and it's a hell of a. You're right. It's not an easy game.
Yeah, and they pay so much too.
Yeah. So a lot of big money in pottery. Yeah. So he's doing his pottery, and how do you meet? You're rocking.
I was at the time he was sneaking into Canada, or going, dodging the draft into Canada.
Yeah,
I'm down in Detroit, trying to get into.
Yeah, he's sneaking into the States.
I'm in the States.
So you want to be in Detroit because that's a port of entry, or because of the music?
Well, the band that one of the bands that I ended up with, we got discovered by Berry Gordy and Motown. Actually, the Supremes discovered us.
Really?
In Vancouver.
Really?
And so we got signed to a contract
with Motown.
With Motown. So I was in Detroit.
What band? What was the band called?
Bobby Taylor and the Vancouvers.
Wow.
Bobby Taylor and the Vancouvers had this giant hit called "Does Your Mama Know About Me," which Tommy wrote the lyrics for.
Wow.
And it was a huge hit. Everybody covered it. It was like it was a standard.
Really?
Oh yeah. Still people to this day cover that too.
I had no idea.
Oh yeah.
So you were on a whole different. You were on track, man.
He was black.
I was a black guy.
Well, you're half Asian, correct?
Yeah.
And now, what's your background like? How'd that
Well,
pan
my
out?
mother was Scotch-Irish. Father was Cantonese.
Oh, really?
Chinese.
First generation, like came over to Canada from China.
Well, he was born in Vancouver, but his father was from China. They came over to work the railroad. Ended up working a gambling joint.
And what kind of gambling joint? Like just the kind.
There was some Chinese where you get off the boat and someone would go right to the railroad. I mean, to work on the railroad, and the other guy would go, "I think I'll open a gambling joint right there."
Yeah. What was the game though? Was it mahjong? I mean, what? All of it?
Stuff.
Dominoes.
Dominoes? Do you know how to play dominoes? I don't know how to fucking play dominoes.
You don't?
No. You?
You never been to jail then? Huh?
Yeah, you never. That's a jail game, boy.
Oh, that is it.
You play a lot of dominoes?
Yeah, motherfucker. I got a 6.
So, with that heritage though, did you ever sort of track it down? Did you ever go to China? Were you ever fascinated along those lines?
No. Well, I was fascinated, but I never. My dad, he became a white guy,
right?
Although he had his Chinese friends, and he kept that part away from us.
Really?
It was in Calgary.
Right.
I mean, a Chinese guy in Calgary, so what's the first thing time he does? Hangs out with black guys.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense because you're both
eventually. Well, the thing was, I was being half Chinese. I was the black guy.
Right, exactly.
In the neighborhood.
Right,
and so I figured, well, if I'm going to be treated like one, I might as well hang with them.
Yeah.
And they had the best music and the best fun. But it wasn't until I got with the black culture. See, before I got with the black culture, it was like fight my way to school, fight my way back.
Right.
I was dealing with redneck assholes, And so I ended up, then when I got with the black guys who could fight and were, the best athletes in Canada.
Yeah.
The last thing they did was fight.
Yeah.
They never fought.
Right, because no one wanted to fuck with them.
No, no one fucked with them, but their culture was all about music and dancing.
Yeah.
And when I discovered that, then I was home.
That was it. So you go to Detroit, you're doing the Motown thing, you meet with Barry Gordy, you're part of that whole music mill, like Smokey Robinson is around, or what?
Yeah,
Who was there?
Smokey. In fact, Bobby Taylor, to this day, is considered one of the greatest singers that Motown ever had. In fact, when we would perform, we would look out and there would be Marvin Gaye and all the Supremes and all the Tops and Smokey and everybody sitting in the audience paying homage to Bobby Taylor and the Vancouvers.
Yeah. That's unbelievable. And how old were you?
I was 10 years older than Cheech, so
8.
I was close to, I was 28, I think.
So then what happened? So you get this hit, do you tour? Do you go on the bus with Marvin Gaye and everybody?
On the bus with the Supremes. Oh, no, she had her own. The Supremes had their own thing, but I was on the bus with the Gerald Wilson band.
Wilson.
Yeah. It wasn't a tour bus. It was a sit-up bus. But I found a little area where you hung your clothes.
Right.
And I got a lot of pillows, and there was a little area where you could make a bed.
Yeah.
And so I made myself a little bed. Being from Calgary, I knew how to do that shit. So pretty soon I had all the Vancouvers in. Yeah. I'd go to lay in my bed, there'd be a Vancouver in there.
It caught on. So you're playing those rooms where you're still dealing with segregation when you're touring?
Oh yeah.
So you're playing the black clubs,
and I'm the only non-black guy on the bus complaining that we're doing a concert where black kids aren't allowed into the concert.
Tell them what happened when you got to Gary, Indiana.
With it wasn't Gary, it was Chicago.
Yeah,
it was Chicago. Wow. We were playing at a club called
wasn't it the Regal?
Regal Theater.
Yeah.
And the opening act was a little family called the Jackson 5 plus Johnny.
Yeah, who's Johnny?
Yeah, with Johnny. Johnny was the cousin.
He's the kid didn't make it.
And they had just won the contest for the high school.
No kidding.
Contest.
Right.
And so then Bobby Taylor convinced him to come to Motown, and they stayed with Bobby for a month, and then Barry Gordy signed him.
Yeah. So you were right there at that.
They discovered the Jackson 5, and then all of a sudden Barry Gordy figured that we arranged for Diana Ross to discover the Jackson 5.
Well, it made better.
Yeah, made better.
There's some negotiating done.
But Bobby Taylor produced their first 2 albums.
Yeah. No kidding.
ABC, I Want You Back. Yeah.
And that's what broke up the Vancouvers.
The Jackson 5.
Yeah, because Bobby had he had a new career
in producing.
And so then I ended up playing with Chris Clark. I was their band leader, and then
Chris Clark was Berry Gordy's white girlfriend.
Okay, yeah, one of them. And then I had to go back to Detroit to get my green card.
Yeah.
And Chris Clark didn't know what a green card was, so she fired me.
What? Why?
Because I missed a gig. I had to go back. I had to miss a gig. She had everybody else there.
But by this point, though, I mean, I guess what's interesting in your story particularly is you saw how shitty show business could be.
Aye.
That there was
I didn't.
You didn't register that there were politics in show business.
Not at all.
No, you were just sort of
all you see is this crowd. You see the crowd out there. They love you. And you're playing. Are you kidding? You're playing in clubs. You're playing, where you don't have to fight your way out of the thing. You're getting treats backstage.
Yeah, sure, man.
People asking for your autograph.
Yeah, human treats,
beef jerky, treat. Everything.
M&Ms, the whole thing. Potato chips.
Snickers bars.
But I got fired. I literally, and I had my girlfriend, who is now my wife. She was at a motel. I had another wife in Detroit, and so when I got fired, I was in Detroit.
You had two wives,
and I had
at the same time.
Yeah, okay. Not two wives, a girlfriend and a wife.
Sure,
I was a musician.
I hear you.
And so then
whatever you got to tell yourself.
I got fired in Detroit.
Yeah.
But I had to tell him, I have to go back and get my instrument, my guitar. I left my amp there, and so they flew me back.
Yeah,
and
he said, "I have to go back, get my white girl," and then they understood.
In fact, when we were doing that trip, we were on our way to Cherry Hill, Indiana, New Jersey, Cherry Hill, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Shelby was late because
the white wife.
Okay.
The white girlfriend so
you have a black wife and a white girlfriend.
Yeah.
A white girlfriend with a white baby.
Okay.
Just been born.
Your white baby.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
and so Berry Gordy.
Is it the white baby that's out on the deck right now?
No. Berry Gordy's, that was the youngest
next one.
The next one.
No.
Berry Gordy's walking around and saying, "Whose baby is this?" Whose baby is this? And everybody in the band, everybody looking away. No one answered it. It was a very funny thing. So anyway, I went back and collected my girlfriend and my baby and my amplifier, and
the three important
things. The band could have saved my ass.
Yeah.
The band could have said, if he's fired, we're fired too. But none of them did.
Right.
All loyal.
Because they were with the Berry Gordy and they were set.
Yeah, they were set. They didn't give a shit about me. Yeah. And so then Berry
haunted
Gordy
him ever since.
Oh, really?
Then Berry Gordy found out about it, that I got fired. And I was the only band. I was the guy that
he was the leader of the band.
I was the leader of the band.
So now he just had some players.
Because so Berry called me up right away. He said, "You're not fired, man. I don't want you. You can be with me for as long as you want." And I said, "No." I said, "I want to be a Berry Gordy. I don't want to work for Berry Gordy."
Oh shit!
And so he gave me a nice little severance pay and sent me on my way. And that's how I met Cheech.
So then he goes. He's sitting in Detroit. We're watching a movie, Alice B. Toklas, with Peter Sellers. And it's in Venice and it's warm. And like, what are we doing here in Detroit? They got that thing. They drove across country and come to Venice.
So all right. So you go back to Calgary, and that's when you meet Cheech.
No, actually, I go back to L.A. I went to L.A.
From Detroit,
and
with your white wife and your white baby.
Yeah.
Where's the black wife?
White girlfriend.
White girlfriend. So where's
the black wife's with two kids in Detroit.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I sent for them. They ended up in L.A.
Right.
Everybody's in L.A.
Right.
And I had a nightclub that I owned with a family-owned nightclub in Vancouver that needed help.
A Chong family-owned nightclub?
Yeah. And so I went back to Vancouver.
Right.
Because that was I started the teen club.
Yeah.
I started another club in Vancouver the same way. Actually, what it was there was actually two empty clubs.
Yeah.
And the guy that owned the building said, "Hey, you want a club?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Sure."
That's what makes Canada great.
So the Chong family started the first topless bar in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Oh, they're very popular now.
Yeah.
But they were the first.
And
really?
So it was having troubles. So I flew back.
How can you have troubles with titties?
Well,
it was not in a wonderful section.
Okay.
It was in a tough section.
Okay.
And so I flew back.
Yeah.
And I looked at the show and I said, oh, we need to get some comedy in here somehow. So I started like a burlesque show.
Like the classic way. You got boobs, and you got the guy who comes out and does a few sticks.
No, not the guy. What I did, I used the committee. I used what do you call it?
Like an improv group.
Oh, really? Improv in between strippers.
He had seen improv on the road. He's seen Second City in Chicago and Comedian in San Francisco. Yeah. Goes, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Never spoke on stage before. But that's what he wants to do.
So I turned the girls into actresses.
Yeah.
So they were improving?
Yeah. You're not strippers anymore. You're actresses, so you get paid less. But you still have to take off your clothes because we're like free theater.
So what did you get them doing?
Every skit we could,
You were writing skits?
Well, we would take the Playboy magazine joke part, and we would bring those jokes to life.
Act them out, yeah.
And then you what? You're a customer at the place?
No. So I around that time, I get to Vancouver. I come from Vancouver after.
And you're making pots with a couple of different dudes.
Yeah, but then long story short, it travels, and I get to Vancouver, and the guy the first I get to Vancouver, I'm walking around downtown Chinatown because you got to go there.
Yeah.
And I see that I walk by this club, the Shanghai Junk is called. I see these pictures of Tommy and the chicks, and I go, what the fuck is this? And I just remember registering it because it looked like old burlesque photos that I had, because I used to go to burlesque houses in L.A. in the Valley.
Two long-haired hippies.
Two long-haired hippies with a army helmet on and a billy club, and what the fuck?
That was the picture?
Yeah. And so anyways, through a friend who was an editor of a rock and roll magazine, he says, you got to meet this guy, Tommy Chong. He's got this thing going down there. He said, but you'd be perfect for it. Does it pay? I don't know. Well, go. So I.
Because he said that to you because you were a funny guy.
Yeah.
But you had not done any stand up.
No. I was a writer for the magazine. I was doing record reviews and that shit.
Yeah.
And so the straight guy that I had working, we had there's myself and the doorman David.
Yeah.
I got him involved. Yeah. I just wanted him to be the MC.
Right.
And he said, "I'll do it if you do it."
Yeah.
And so then I remembered some of the skits, that I saw with Second City, and so we started doing those skits. And we needed a straight man, so we had an actor, a real actor, come on board as a straight guy.
Yeah.
And we got so popular that we got the front page of the newspaper, and Rick Lenz was the guy's name, the straight guy.
Yeah.
And he's got boobs on either side of his head. And his wife, who was very straight, she thought he was doing community theater.
Yeah.
So she flipped
for the Lord.
She literally took him up by the ear and
took him out of there.
So you're out of
straight
so I
guy.
needed a straight man.
Right.
And so the Ihor
Todoruk. Ihor Todoruk
was
the writer.
He was the editor.
Yeah.
Russian.
Ukrainian.
Ukrainian.
Yeah,
he says, I know a very funny guy. You should come and see him. Come on out to my magazine and you meet him.
Yeah.
And so he was kind of insistent, So I said, okay. So I took my white girlfriend and and her little baby.
Little baby. She looks. Her name is Precious Chong.
Uh-huh.
And so you figure like this little girl with bound feet is going to show up, and it looks like Sybil Shepherd.
Yeah.
Little white girl with curls and Shirley Temple. And so we ended up, and that's when I met Cheech for the first time.
When you went to Second City, though, who'd you see?
I saw Peter Boyle. I saw all the.
It was in the first edition.
Right after the Compass Players. So So you saw like Alan Arkin, maybe?
Not Arkin, but I saw Boyle.
Really?
Peter Boyle.
And you just went over there out of curiosity when you were in Chicago?
Well, I had a chance. We had a choice. Most of the guys went to the blues clubs.
Right.
I looked at that, and it was just fascinating. I'd never
the Second City thing.
The Second City,
nothing you'd ever seen.
I went in there, and I'd never seen that before. I did. I saw the committee in San Francisco first,
right?
And that's what got me into the whole thing. And then
Fred Willard, was he the committee? Was Fred?
No, it was the original guy.
Way before that.
Gail, what's that guy's name? Goodwin got something.
Yeah, Gary Goodrow.
Gary Goodrow. The guy
Hessman.
from Howard Hessman.
Howard Hessman.
Yeah.
Howard Hessman. Gary Goodrow.
So they were activists. So
Lee French,
right? Yeah,
Lee French. Yeah.
Oh wow.
And Howard Hessman used to fascinate me because I saw him almost every night when I was in San Francisco. And what he would do, he would come up with these red shoes on.
Yeah.
And he'd say, okay, and then he'd read off a list of where the protests were going to be, the Vietnam protests. We're going to be here. We're going to be here. Everything. Any questions? Yeah. Where'd you get the red shoes? And he would get pissed off. He'd say, I'm not going to answer that. And he'd get pissed off. Because they're all,
what the hell you got red shoes on? That's all they're thinking about. They're not even hearing the Vietnam things. Like, what the fuck, man? They're fucking red shoes on.
Yeah, and that's what Hessman would literally, you could see him get pissed off at everybody.
So what were you doing in San Francisco? Where does that come in the timeline?
I was in the band.
Oh, okay. All right. So you see
the Bobby Taylor.
Yeah. Right. So you see Peter Boyle see this thing where it's sort of like, holy shit, this is funny.
See, and this is before we got discovered by Motown.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
So I saw all this before that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, San Francisco. Oh, really? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was in San Francisco with Bobby. Hey, we were starving. We would go down on spec. We'd go down, and Bobby Taylor was so well known down there. And we'd show up at clubs, and literally the club owner would meet us with a fucking gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, really?
Nigga, I told you if I ever saw you again, I'd kill you. And Bobby would say, put the gun down, motherfucker. We're here to make you some money. This is my boy. This is Tommy, come here.
Tommy, Bobby Taylor's a character, boy. He's in China now.
He is?
Yeah, he's got to act in China, man. Probably got 3 old ladies.
That's where he ended up?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
He always, he emails me all the time. But Bobby was such a legend because what he would do, he would show up at the club, he would pack the joint, he'd fuck every old lady's old lady he could find. Yeah. And he would take money from everybody he could get, and then he'd leave unexpectedly with shit. Then he'd come back like it never happened.
You got the wrong guy. That's some other guy.
I know I did that, man. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. Hey, one of the last times I saw Bobby, we're in Vancouver. We got the after hours club is going great. Everything's going great. It was a beautiful day, one of the long summers. I was on the beach all day. I smoked out. I'm standing in front of the club waiting for the for the gig to start, and the cab pulls up. Bobby gets out and he's got an axe. He's holding an axe. I said, "What's up, Bobby?" He says, "Fuck that bitch." Oh, shit. What happened, Bobby? Yeah, but, man, she kicked me out of the motherfucking house, man. Shit, all the work I put in that house, I nailed every fucking door shut. If I can't get in there, no one else is getting in there.
Was that Marnie?
No, Evelyn.
Evelyn. Oh,
remember Evelyn?
Ooh, no, I didn't remember.
Oh, you didn't meet Evelyn? Evelyn was a working girl.
All right, so he's your new straight guy. You go to the office, you meet Cheech with the baby, and what happens right then?
So he says, hey, come on down to see what we're doing. The Shanghai Jung. So I went, and my girlfriend, who was coming in to see me from L.A. I hadn't seen her for a long time, and she was like, coming in.
And Cheech didn't tell me this.
Yeah, I didn't tell her this. So.
He just said, yeah, I'll come down. I'll try and make it.
Yeah. I'll check you out.
I'll try and make it. Yeah, I'll check it out.
Yeah.
And so we're backstage. We had just dropped some acid because that was the
You're dropping acid during the show?
Oh, yeah. Before the show.
Yeah.
It made the show much better.
Yeah.
And so we're.
But this is like Owsley shit. I mean, this is like real
the real shit. Yeah. They would do 4 hours of improv a night in a strip club for people that went, what the fuck? What a fucking girl. A fucking long-haired guy's talking to me.
On acid.
Well, we were on acid. I'm looking out, and I see Cheech come in. They said, oh, he's here. All the girls were excited. They wanted to see the new guy.
Yeah.
And so the girls said, oh, he's here. Who's he with? And I looked out there, and here's this gorgeous chick with this full-length mink coat. And Cheech, he's... And right, I said, no, he's hired. I always judge a man by his woman. I don't care what the guy looks like, but if she's hot, He's got something going on.
Ay, dear God.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom. Still to this day.
Oh, yeah.
And so anyway, she was coming. I was more into her, you know. That. And I was watching they were doing this, whatever they were doing on stage. Yeah. It was like, you know, the girls trying to act. Or something.
On acid, though. I mean, what was it like, though?
I don't fucking know. I don't remember anything except for this one bit where David, his partner, comes out and he sings this.
No, see, that was the first bit.
Was that the first
bit? That was the very first bit. See, I think what happened was that
the girls stopped dancing.
They were dancing, and then they stopped and they cleared the stage.
Oh, that's what it was.
And then we would start our show.
Yeah, and so I'm trying to. Sarah's looking at me and saying, "What the fuck do you bring me to a strip joint in the worst part of town?"
Yeah.
What
was the bit?
And so David, the guy, comes out and he's a real long-haired guy.
Well, first a mime artist.
You got the mime.
We got
in the strip bar.
We got a classical guitarist.
Yeah.
He comes out, he sits down, and he starts playing. And then this mime artist comes out, and he's picking flowers. Sure. And this is all these are bikers and perverts and, waiting to see some girls. And so they're sitting there watching this mime artist throw flower petals around and blowing things.
In full mime drag.
Right, but he's a serious mime.
Serious mime.
Sure.
And then he leaves the stage, and then David, my first partner, comes out with he's got long hair, and a cowboy hat, and a scarf wrapped around his neck. Yeah. And he walks up seriously to the mic, and what does he sing?
He sings his song, goes, I dream of Brownie in the light blue jeans. She's just as neat as licorice jelly beans. I dream of Brownie, and it makes me mellier, 'cause Brownie is my favorite wire-haired terrier.
And that now everybody's just looking at him, and they're bikers. Yeah. They're looking around and going, "What the fuck is this?" And then I kick a door open, and I'm shirtless. You know, and it looked like my hair's all messed up. Looked like I just woke up, and I got a rolled up newspaper. And I walk over to David, and I look at him, and I go, "What kind of fucking song is that?" And I start
beating the shit. I fucking fell off the chair, man. I laughed so hard. That was so it cracked me up. And I said, "Okay, I'll join this group." But see, when I auditioned, when I met Thomas for the first time, I gave him this big resume of what a great improv actor and writer that I was. I've been down. I was a member of Instant Theater here in L.A., and I had seen this little improv group called Instant Theater. And it was in L.A. It was on Melrose, the Horseshoe Theater, and it was Rachel Rosenthal who went on to be the Grande Dame of Performance Art, and her husband or boyfriend, I think it was her husband, King Moody, and King Moody eventually turned up to be Ronald McDonald.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Right. He was the original for 20 years. He was the original.
He was
Ronald
the guy.
He was Ronald McDonald. And they used to do this.
Please tell me he thought it was a performance art piece for the entire 20 years.
He was a little nipper, you know. He used to enjoy a little nip. And so it was weird. I used to go to this thing. And I know it was the weirdest thing I ever saw, but funny. But I remember when I was watching it, I'd go a lot of times, and I can do this. Yeah. I could jump on stage right now, and I could do this, you know. So I told Tommy that I was a member of Instant Theater, and I just did this, and we wrote. It was I improv'd a resume. Yeah. He bought it. Okay, come on down and be a writer for the show. Yeah. Okay.
So you guys started writing together.
Well, no, really. David and I really were the main guys. Yeah. You know? And then Cheech was kind of like the understudy.
Sure. Yeah.
And then he would come in, but Cheech was the only guy that would bring original material. That started bringing it. You know, David really wasn't a comedian. It wasn't an actor or comedian. He was a doorman. That he really was a roadie. Right. If anything.
So you were just riffing all this shit.
And so we were just riffing. And I was the only one that had seen the Second City.
Sure.
But he owned the club.
Right.
And so we could do anything.
Yeah. And the audience loved it, man. In fact, they loved it so much that we changed from this hard drinking biker kind of bar into this theatrical theater group.
Wow.
Where they would nurse a wine all night.
But you still had the girls, though.
Oh, yeah.
We had the girls.
Oh, yeah, and they get naked.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the end of the skit. Somehow they got naked.
Yeah.
But we changed the audience so drastically that we were packing them in, but we weren't making any money.
Yeah, because they weren't drinking.
Right, because they weren't there for the old guys. I'll get drunk, see some titties. These people are like, this is interesting. We're students.
Yeah, so my brother, who kind of took care of paying the bills and that, he came up with a bunch of bills. And he says, we got to do something here. And so I said, well, we got to go back to the old strip routine.
Yeah.
And so the group was out of a job.
Yeah.
Basically.
Okay.
And I've never really been one to look ahead and say, well, we can work over here. I would do a project at a time and then feel that you could be there forever.
Right.
And so we did one performance.
Yeah.
And then we broke up for good, and it was for the Three Dog Night.
Opening for Three Dog Night?
No. We just they were playing an arena in Vancouver.
Sure.
And the drummer was my brother-in-law.
Remember the black guys in Calgary?
Yeah.
That's his brother-in-law.
My first wife.
Yeah.
My first wife's brother.
Yeah.
He was the drummer.
For
Three Dog Night.
Yeah. Floyd Sneed.
Floyd.
Were they a Canadian band?
No, just him.
No, just Floyd. And Floyd was in the original band that when I went down to the Second City and all that. Floyd was with me then.
The original drummer of the
Vancouvers.
Yeah.
Or the Bobby T. No, what was it? The Bachelors.
Oh,
Little Daddy.
Little Daddy and the Bachelors. Really, he was in that band
before the Vancouvers.
Yeah. And so we did that one performance. And Danny Hutton and they all seen us.
Yeah.
The only time they ever saw the whole group together. And then Cheech and I decided we were going to put a band together.
Okay.
And so we did. We actually put a bass player and a piano player.
Yeah.
What'd you do, Cheech?
I was a singer. I was a singer all my life.
Yeah.
He's a singer.
Yeah.
And so, but we got to the gig. It was about all the bands, and because I had the reputation of the Vancouvers, we got a gig right away. They said, we want to hear the band.
Yeah.
But Cheech and I have been doing comedy for 9 months.
Just solo? Just the two of you?
No.
With the other guys.
With the other guys.
With the gang.
And so we said, well, let's do comedy first.
Yeah.
And then we'll play.
Then we'll play some music.
And you guys had already worked out two-man show?
Yeah, we worked it out that night.
Yeah. Well, let's do that bit or that bit. Okay.
So you guys, you were no longer the understudy. You were integrating into sketches.
during the length of the show that I was with them, I would write material for them.
Yeah.
And then somebody couldn't make it or they were late. I would do the bit. I would fill in. And the only thing I couldn't do was like naked dancer.
Right.
Yeah. But I did everything else in the show at some point.
So okay, so you guys you're going to do a comedy bit.
So the two of us, we go out there.
Yeah.
And we were a hit right from the first.
What was the bit?
What was the first bit? Was it the guys in the cars? No, could it be?
Not long. We did a minute of that. I think I know we did the Dogs,
and then we did Blind Melon.
We did Blind Melon.
Yeah.
So you guys were doing those bits already?
Oh yeah.
The bits that showed up on the first and second record.
Yeah. Sure.
So it smells like dog shit. You were doing
that was a joke.
No, that's an old joke. Yeah. But what was the dog?
We did
Dogs.
The Dogs. We were
Ralph
dogs.
and
We
Herbie.
became dogs.
Oh.
And
Ralph
we
and
were crawling
Herbie.
around the stage sniffing each other's butt and fucking each other. Yeah, that was the kids loved it.
Yeah.
Oh, they did.
Oh, the crowd. It was a battle of the bands, and the crowd.
They all gathered right close to the stage, sat down, and enjoyed the hell out of the show.
And the Blind Melon bit that became a big bit.
Oh yeah.
Well, they all actually they all evolved.
Evolved, yeah.
And it was such a big hit in that we never played a note.
We never played, and the band stood there like.
Really?
Yeah.
You were just killing.
Not one note.
Yeah.
And so the bass player who ended up becoming the Powder Blues band in Vancouver, big band.
Yeah.
He ended up. He says, "So when's our next gig, boss?"
Well, we ain't got a next gig.
Tom Lavin.
Tom Lavin.
And so Cheech and I I had my dad's car, and the windshield wipers were broken.
Yeah.
It was in Vancouver.
Always
torrential
rains.
rain.
Yeah.
And so we were taking turns working the windshield
with a coat hanger. Bent the coat hanger out the window.
We'd be hanging out the door
like that.
working,
getting drenched.
Yeah. I'm driving, and he'd do it for a while, and then I'd do it for a while. And then that's when we named ourselves.
So we're going across the Georgia Viaduct Bridge.
Yeah.
It was one of those, and it was a condemned bridge.
Yeah.
It was big signs, go along at your own risk. And so we're trying to figure out a name. So I said, well, let's say Richard and Tommy. No, that doesn't sound good. And I said, Maron and Chong. No, that doesn't sound good. He says, well, do you got a nickname? And so I said, well, Cheech is my family name. He goes, Cheech and Chong. Cheech and Chong. That was it. It was never Chong and Cheech. It was all Cheech because it sounded better.
Yeah.
And so, we're going to conquer the world. We're going across with this coat hanger.
I was literally screaming the word Cheech and Chong. Cheech and Chong.
It was great. I swear to God.
It does sound good, man.
And we played in on the lawn in UCLA one time, and this linguist, after we did our show, she was walking alongside, and she says, "It's very interesting that you chose the name Cheech and Chong because it's a first name and a last name." And she went on this whole big
broke
thing
it down.
Yeah, she broke it down.
We're the only other team that has a first name and a last name. You know, the other one is Penn and Teller.
Really, that was it.
Penn Jillette and Al Teller, or whatever.
But you guys didn't think about that.
No.
Where'd you get the name Cheech?
Cheech is my family name. It's short for Chicharron.
Sure, the fried pork rind.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So when I was a little baby, I was just born. My uncle looked in the crib. He says, "Ay, parece un chicharrón." Looks like a little chicharron, all shriveled up. You know? So that was my name.
That's
and
hilarious.
I was always Cheech, in the family.
All right, so now you got the groove. You got the thing. So how do you end up down here?
Well, we got to come back to
Well,
LA.
what we did.
I was wanted by the FBI at the time, so
for jumping the draft.
Yeah.
But I wanted us to play in a little club first
to try it.
Yeah. I said, we got to do one more gig.
Yeah.
And so we went down to this little blues club.
Yeah.
Little folk club.
Vancouver.
And where we saw T-Bone Walker.
Oh, he's still alive, huh?
At the end of his career.
Yeah.
He was so drunk that they literally carried him out and put him in the chair.
Yeah.
And then they put his guitar on his lap.
Yeah.
And he tried to play the guitar, but they had untuned the strings because of the flight.
Yeah.
And the bass player literally was leaning over trying to tune his guitar while he's playing.
Yeah.
And he's and he couldn't get anything together.
Yeah.
And when he finished whatever he was doing, the crowd erupted into the biggest cheers ever.
We were sitting in the club just laughing our ass off.
That's when Blind Melon was born. Blind Melon was born. And we played that club.
You played that? What's Ronnie Scott's?
Ronnie Small.
Ronnie Smalls, yeah.
Ronnie Small. We
River
played,
Queen or something.
Yeah, the River something. And we played it was the next day or something?
Yeah, the next day.
Next day we played it. Went over really well.
Did you do the Blind Melon bit?
No.
We hadn't involved. Well, next day we came back to L.A.
Yeah.
I did, because I got on a plane, but I had to,
Well, first of all, we had to get money to get him back.
Yeah.
And so I went and visited some friends of mine. Lionel. Yeah. And he just fronted us some money.
Yeah. What about Lionel?
Lionel was it was this Jewish guy who had a battery company or a tire company or something. Battery. But he was hanging. He was a rounder, and he was hanging out with all these nightclub guys. And
he was a wannabe.
It was a wannabe.
He was like the guy that got killed in Goodfellas.
The swimming pool guy.
Sure.
That was him.
Yeah.
And he was hanging out with all these gangsters and boosters,
and
mostly boosters.
Yeah.
And so he lent us the money.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like, I don't know, $100 or $200.
Yeah.
No, it's 1,000.
Really?
Yeah, because we had to get the ticket.
What happened to my end of that 1,000?
You never got it?
I know.
You got it? No. Yeah, I remember.
We'll talk about this later then. So we bought a plane ticket, but I had to go by customs, and in those days, so I borrowed my friend Bill Knorr's ID with a picture of him on it.
Yeah.
And he was kind of dark.
Yeah.
And I went and I held it up right next to my face, and I looked at me. Okay, go through. I was wanted by the FBI. Oh, yeah, okay, a lot has changed since then.
Well, how'd you deal with the FBI issue?
Well, they didn't know I came back. They didn't know I left in the first place.
Yeah.
So it's like
We'd be on stage, and I'd say, "Any FBI people here tonight?"
He's the draft dodger.
We go, "Shut up, man!
Well,
That's not
shit,
funny."
man. That ain't funny, man. Because they were going by my mother's house all the time looking for me. What happened? I was in Canada.
Yeah.
And while I was in there, they changed my classification from 2S student to 1A, available for the draft.
Yeah.
And they drafted me while I was in Canada.
Yeah.
And totally illegal. So I said, "No, man, this is." So when I came back, I snuck back in the United States. They didn't know I was there. I was Bill Knorr now.
Yeah. New identity.
So we were kind of, and so just as we got back, the first cases from the draft resistance movement started going to went to the Supreme Court.
Right.
Got thrown out.
Yeah.
This is totally illegal what he did, but this is blah, blah, blah. So all you guys are, free of this. So the next day they sent me a notice for a physical.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now you don't have a 2S deferment, and So I had broken my leg skiing in Canada the second year I was there, really badly. A compound. You know that guy on TV, the basketball from Louisville, the kid that broke his leg in half.
Yeah.
And it was a compound. That's exactly what I did.
So you had several breaks.
No, just one in half.
Oh God!
I severed my leg.
So it's sticking out.
Yeah.
Oh shit!
So I went to a medical doctor, used to be a medical examiner for the Air Force. I got him to write a letter, got some x-rays, went and took the physical and got 4F'd.
Oh,
goodbye.
Yeah.
I was 2FY. Too fucking young.
But like after all that bullshit, you actually had to go for the physical.
Yeah.
The shit got scary, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But that was towards the end of the war already,
the
right?
scary part was seeing 1,000 other guys in their underwear.
No, it wasn't really. It was right in the middle of the war.
69, 70?
That was 69.
Oh, so it's still,
Yeah, 7. No, it was
70.
70, yeah, 70.
So when did you come down?
The same time.
Oh, so you got the plane ticket,
he came
down.
But I had a green card.
Right. So then how did you start out? What happened when you got here?
Well, we started playing black clubs.
First of all, we stayed at my first wife's house.
Ex-wife's house.
He stayed on the couch.
Yeah.
And in fact, the first bit in Up in Smoke is really a story of what he was like living at my house at the time, because he'd wake up. My daughters would come out and turn on the TV real loud, get their cereal, and
give me the stink eye. Ray Don, Ray Don Chong. What's this Mexican doing on my couch? Pissed off.
Oh shit! So you started doing black clubs?
Yeah.
That was the only ones that would pay.
Yeah.
And have comedy.
And who were the guys you were seeing when you were working with that?
Everywhere.
All the
Mavericks
jazz.
Flats, the Parisian Room, PJ's, when PJ's in Hollywood reopened as the Uptown Black Club, and so we were the house comedians for there. So we paid with everybody that came through there. I mean, we opened it with Carmen McRae and the Impressions and the Isley Brothers and Edwin Starr.
Earth, Wind and Fire.
Oh, Earth, Wind and Fire. We used to play this other little club. It was Johnny Mathis's brother Ralph, who looked exactly like him, sang all his songs. Cheech and Chong and Earth, Wind and Fire.
Wow!
Every night on stage.
Was that the Millionaires Club?
That was
4 o'clock.
Yeah.
And what bits were you doing? You were doing what, half hour, 20 minutes?
I don't know what we were doing.
No, we did a half hour, at least half hour, maybe longer.
More, yeah.
And you were doing because you guys did bits. I mean, you did. It was almost sketches. You weren't like
no. We did sketches.
Yeah, and you bring costumes.
Yeah. Oh, we had a pile of costumes.
Yeah.
We'd lay them on the stage in a pile. I swear to God. All right, what bit we're going to do next? Oh, let's do that one.
And we went to club with on a scooter. I had a little Honda 90. And Cheech we'd both wear all the costumes.
All the costumes, layers of coats and 3 hats and shoes around our neck.
Scoot around on the scooter. Because I still had my wife and my girlfriend.
Right. And did they know about each other, obviously?
No, they knew.
They kind of knew. They knew.
They kind of knew. They knew.
Everybody knew.
Yeah. All right, so you're running around doing the black club. So when do you start to evolve into, recording or the Comedy Store?
Well, what happened...
Because you're still before the Comedy Store, right? You're doing this late 60s, 70s, 1970s, nothing.
The Troubadour.
Yeah.
The Troubadour. We did...
opening for music all the time.
No.
It was folk...
Hootenanny night.
Hootenanny
night at the Troubadour, Monday nights.
Yeah.
And the deal was that the first 6 acts that were there when the box office opened up at 6 o'clock got to go on that night.
Music or variety don't matter.
In reverse order. So the first one got to go on 6th, which was really actually a good spot because everybody was in. They're not. Still,
they're not. They're
drinking.
Because it's a free night, is it no charge kind of deal, right?
Well, no, they charged them, but the acts didn't get paid. This was like an open mic night.
Right.
So we were always the first ones, always, every time.
Yeah, you drove the scooter over. You're sitting there with like 4 layers of clothing on. It's like Monday night at the comedy store. You see people wearing chef's outfits and garbage bags. You're like, what the fuck is going on?
And we'd get there at 9 o'clock and sit there in front of the Troubadour till 6.
Yeah, eating sunflower seeds.
Eating sunflower seeds and working on bits and talking, blah, blah, blah. And we going on. So we started to gain a following. We did it a bunch of times, and we started to gain a following. So people were calling and asking. So re-enters Danny Hutton from the Three Dog Night, the singer. Yeah. And we got with him when we first were there. He introduced us to his management team. We got signed to them. They didn't do shit for us, except give us coke every Monday.
We were with Herbie Cohen for a minute.
Herbie Cohen. We were never with Herbie Cohen because he wouldn't give us $200.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so we were always hustling.
Yeah.
And so he arranged for Ted Templeman from Warner Brothers to come down. He was a big record producer.
Yeah.
Come down and see us at the Troubadour. And Randy Newman was there, and Brian Wilson.
With the night you were there?
The night we were. This is like the 6th or 7th time we.
But it's just you guys now.
No, it's that same.
Still the Hootenanny night.
Still the Hootenanny.
But they coming out to see you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because he arranged it.
Yeah.
And so we did that. Went on, killed. And then this
Frank Zappa was there.
Frank Zappa.
Really?
Was there, yeah.
He must have liked you.
Stephen Martin said he was in the audience the first night we ever performed. He came up and told me that.
Because he used to play there, too. He opened for bands. A lot of the cats used to open for bands.
Dirt Band.
Yeah,
sir. Yeah.
And he opened for, who was it, Melissa? I don't remember, but I know that, like, I've talked to a lot of dudes from your generation. That was the gig, man.
That was the gig.
That was it. There was no comedy clubs.
No.
So all these cats come down?
Yeah. And so after we finished the gig, we're out in front basking in our glory there. And there's this girl, Melissa, Missy Montgomery, who was Dinah Shore's daughter.
Okay.
And she comes up and she goes, and we knew her because she was Danny Hutton's girlfriend at the time. And Danny Hutton's girlfriend says, it was Danny's girlfriend. She says, Lou Adler was in the crowd. And he wanted me to send a notice that he saw you guys and he would really love to talk to you. Oh yeah, where? Well, his office is at A&M. He'd like you to come tomorrow if you can. All right, tell him we'll go.
And he's a huge record guy.
He was the biggest.
Yeah, and he's still around, right? Hangs out with Nicholson. Yeah.
We just inducted him in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame a couple weeks ago, and so I told Thomas, "Hey, Lou Adler, who's Lou Adler?" He didn't have a clue, but I knew because I was a record reviewer, and so was. So we go to his office, and he goes, and he was from East L.A.
Yeah.
And so he got what we were doing right away. And so he says, well, what do you guys want to do? We look at Gold Records. Make a record.
Yeah.
What kind? A gold one.
And you did, right?
Yeah, we did. We signed us up in the office right there, and we started to work on our album.
So when you guys defined the roles, though, I mean, you were doing character stuff, but I mean, there was definitely a point where you played a lot of the hippie kind of doofus dude, and you were the sort of aggravated Chicano dude. I mean, that became sort of the through line of the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And did that just evolve naturally, or were those the ones that were hidden because there was such a sort of separation of the two tones, or what?
Yeah, it was what the audience.
Yeah.
We do a bit in the hippie and the lowrider.
We're the stars.
We're the stars.
Sure. Because
as long as we did those bits.
Yeah.
Then everything else.
Yeah.
Was okay. It was the audience.
Yeah. So the first record. What was the life of it? So you guys put this out, and it's 1971. So there's no Comedy Store. No. There's no nothing. There's no
Comedy Records. They're just going to start coming out with us.
Well, there's the older ones.
There was before from the 50s and early 60s, but
the very first bit we ever did became a viral hit.
Which one?
Dave's Not Here.
Dave.
Well, fucking.
That was the one. That was the very first thing we'd ever rehearsed. Very first.
We never rehearsed it.
Yeah, well, we just did it, and then.
What do you mean? So you're in the studio, and that's where Dave came from? It was just a riff?
Yeah.
Well, no, I locked him. He was locked out. He was locked outside the studio. It's at A&M, and it was hot. It was in the middle of the afternoon.
So it really happened?
And he's knocking on the door, and I couldn't figure out if I had a little tape recorder. I was trying to figure out if it was recording or not.
Yeah.
And every time he'd knock, I'd look at the door, and then I'd look back at the tape recorder, and the needle wasn't moving. So I was kind of stunned looking at it. And then I heard him in his voice. Yeah. I'd say, "Who is it?" And he goes, "It's me, man. Let me in." And I heard he was annoyed
because I wasn't supposed to be the bit. We're working on another bit.
Yeah.
So go out and knock on the door, and then I'll come in and we'll do this other bit. Okay. Yeah.
So he kept knocking on the door, and I kept thinking. And then I start fucking with him. I go, who is it? And he goes, it's me, man. Come on, open up. And I just waited. I waited. And then finally he knocked again. I said, who is it? And he goes, it's me, Dave.
I just made up Dave on the spot. I'm a Dave, you know.
So then I said, Dave's not here.
And then he's laughing, and it's fucking hot out there. And it's like 100. I'm wearing a long coat and a hat with a thing. And everybody on the A&M lot is walking by, looking at this fucking guy, knocking on this door. And they're always wondering, who are these guys anyways? I see them around. Who are they?
Yeah. Dave's
not here. Man, I finally opened the door, and he was pissed. He's throwing shit, and it's hot out there, you know. And I said, listen. I played it back. And we literally played it over and over again for about an hour.
Oh God, just laughing more every time we heard it
because it was so stupid.
The timing of it was just like so from the mountain, you know.
And then we played it for Lou.
Yeah.
And that night, I don't know how he did it, but he had every record, every radio station across America. You woke up to, who is it?
Yeah.
And the DJs would say, oh, we're going to play Dave's Not Here in another half hour.
Yeah. People couldn't get enough of it.
We were trying to figure out during this process of how to convert our stage act into record.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so some things transferred and some things didn't. So we started in that process learning how to make stuff that sounded funny.
Yeah.
That you didn't have to see them.
And also you could use the sounds. Like you could use, traffic noise or whatever.
And it was a multi-track studio with 8-track and then 12 and then 24. And like, oh, God, it's like a...
And the first time we recorded it, it was in a big studio. Lou's there, and he's got everybody around him, you know. He's got his engineers. He's ready to go.
Yeah.
And we walk in there. We've recorded the first one take. Or 2
Dave's
takes.
Not Here. Yeah.
Done. And okay, what else you got? And we looked at each other. Well, let's do Blind.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll do Blind Melon.
Yeah.
And so I'm out there, you know, dark glasses, and Cheech is in the thing, and we decided that Cheech is going to be the producer, record producer.
Right.
But Lou wants to be the producer, and I'm out there kind of muttering to myself, trying to figure out what to say. Lou says, "Should I record that, Tom?" I said, "No, I'm just muttering here." And finally, we did the bit, and then finally, Cheech and I, we said, you know, we don't need all this.
Yeah.
In fact, all we need is a little mixed-down room and an engineer. So that's what we did. And Lou said, okay, fine. Lou loved it.
So from that point on, we just went into this little mixed-down room with me and Tommy and our engineer, Norm Kinney, and we figured it out. We started making it up. And
so you just riffed it. You just kind of put it together.
Come to with a little idea. Okay, you be this guy and this, and you be this guy. And we're in this situation. We started going.
Yep.
And then, okay, that was good. Let's change it this way.
Yeah.
And then we then we got the basic track together. And we stared adding sound effects and like this.
That must have been a blast.
Then we'd send it to Lou. Lou would hear it every night, and then he'd give me his notes.
Yeah.
You know, either the next day or on the phone.
Yeah.
And and his notes were mostly, that's good.
How about more?
A little more.
Yeah, a little more.
Yeah, a little more.
And so it was cool because we were just our influences. I mean, we were like radio theater and I was really into this guy named Ken Nordine, and we had this series of records called Word Jazz. I would always listen to those records, so it was kind of that influence. And Tommy, he had heard Ken Nordine before, yeah. And so I said, let's do it this way, man. And it had atmosphere, and and so we just started making it up.
And how much drugs were you doing then?
Not a lot.
Not a lot.
A little joint. No.
Yeah.
The joint would always we would get to the studio and we'd look at each other. You hungry? Yeah. Okay. So we go eat. Then we come back. And one of us would have to go to the bathroom.
Right.
And then somewhere in there, hey, I got an idea.
Yeah. Then but you were through the acid tunnel. Yeah.
And we were through the cocaine tunnel too.
We did. I did acid. I think, but after we started performing, because the minute we got the record out,
you were big, man.
We were put on the road right away. You know?
I listened to Dave's Not Here yesterday. on vinyl. I got the vinyl in there.
Bless you.
And, because I'm like, they're coming over tomorrow. I better because I got to rejigger my brain. Because me and my brother used to sit down in the basement with that flip-top record player. But we listened to Los Cochinos. For some reason, that was the first one I have, Los Cochinos. I think, is dog shit on that one? I can't remember.
It might be, yeah.
And,
Shabornik.
And Sergeant Stadenko.
So, it was, I think it was Los Cochinos.
Los Cochinos, yeah.
That's her Grammy, right? You got a Grammy for
no, wedding album.
The wedding album I got in there. I got Big Bamboo in there.
Ooh.
Let's see. Yeah, Sergeant Stadenko, Los Cochinos, Sergeant Stadenko, Peter Reuter, up his nose.
Everybody loves that, man.
Well, that's so. I mean, because if you're high or you're 9. You know what I mean? It's like you've got, you can appeal to 5-year-old all the way up to a stone 30-year-old.
That's the beauty of Cheech and Chong, and I don't know how it happens. It just happens that it's 5-year-olds or the head of the philosophy department at the University of Montreal.
Yeah, right.
It's the same nerve.
Yeah, it's the same nerve.
So you did
the same nerve.
So all right. So did Adler produce all those records?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And so all the way through, you did how many? Let's see, how many records was the total? Like
6, I believe.
I think 9.
So all the way up through Sleeping Beauty, Up in Smoke, but that's a
soundtrack.
That's a soundtrack. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you did Let's Make a Dope Deal.
Yep.
1980,
6,
and Greatest Hits, and then Get Out of My Room.
8.
Well, Get Out of My Room was the only one Lou never produced.
Yeah.
Right.
It was after we left.
So all these albums became, pretty gold records, right?
No, they were all gold records.
So you guys were the hottest comedy thing, because I'm looking at that 1971, the first Cheech and Chong album. I don't think Class Clown comes out till 72, right?
Yeah.
So
we were the first ones, and then it was us and Carlin and Lily Tomlin,
right?
And Richard Pryor started making records then.
Now, what was your history at the Comedy Store?
We never went to the Comedy Store.
Why she got a picture of you up there?
Yeah,
after when we had Up and Smoke the movie.
Yeah.
We went back to do a...
We had split with Adler, and we were looking for work, really.
So you're doing the main room over there?
And so we did a week. Yeah. We did a week at the
Okay.
Store.
So you never had to deal with the thing over there. But you knew Pryor, right?
Yeah, I knew Pryor from... I was always a big fan.
Yeah.
But I knew Pryor from Vancouver when I was writing for this magazine called Poppin'.
Right.
And they said, Richard Pryor's at the Cave or Izzy's. He was at Izzy's.
Yeah.
There's 2 nightclubs.
Right.
The Cave and Izzy's. He says, go on and interview him. So I go, okay. So I go down and see his show, blah, 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 and he gets fired the next day for saying something that he didn't want to hear. And so I go to visit him in his hotel room in Vancouver, and he was cool. He was in bed. He just finished fucking some chick. They were sitting over there. And I started interviewing him, and he was really into the interview. He talked about this and that and the other. Hey, well, thank you very much. And we printed the interview. You can find it.
Yeah.
And remember, he was playing at the Bitter End West.
Mm-hmm.
And
I was down there almost every day.
We both were. He played at the Bitter End West, and with Bo Diddley.
Yeah.
Bo Diddley was opening for him, and the bass player was J.D. Souther, and the drummer J.D. Souther was the drummer, and the bass player was Glenn Fry of the Eagles. And we saw him every day. So, hey, remember me out from? Oh yeah. I got a comedy team. Oh yeah, that's good. You know?
Yeah.
And then a really, really nice man. I got a message from him one time when I put out Born in East L.A.
Oh, yeah.
And he calls me. I wasn't there at the house, but he leaves this message. I was, oh, man, I went to see this movie. I didn't really expect much, but I really dug it. It was really cool, man. It was, Richard, and hey, well, let's get together.
Yeah.
And then he died,
So so you guys, now you hit the road on the first record. And you're going, and that's full on, right?
Yeah.
And you had to figure it out. How are you going to make those sounds? How are you going to make all that shit?
No, we had a live act.
We had a stage act first.
We always had a stage act. We never even attempted to do records.
But I mean, when you were expected to do Dave's Not Here.
Well, not really.
No.
No.
We just started doing it lately.
We did it one time.
What, like recently?
We did it one time at the Roxy with.
No, it wasn't at the Roxy. It was the Bitter End East.
That we did Dave's Not Here. We tried it.
In the dark.
In the dark, yeah. And it wasn't that great.
Mm.
Well, they didn't know it yet because the album was just out.
Yeah. And so we never even we separated. We had a stage act. We had a record.
Right. So you weren't too hung up on the sound effects.
Not at all.
No.
And people dug it.
Oh yeah.
And then but Basketball Jones was big too, right?
Yeah.
And did you get a band for that?
Well, Lou Adler would do the music, and he pulling favors out of his hat.
Yeah.
The guys that were in the next studio was like George Harrison. Hey, George, come here.
Who played on it?
George Harrison.
George Harrison played on basketball.
Yeah, he's the lead guitar.
Yeah,
George Harrison.
Yeah, he did the intro. Intro, Tom Scott.
Oh, those are nice chords. I'll have to nick those.
Yeah.
Carole King comes over to play piano, goes, those aren't the chords to Love Jones.
That's hilarious. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And you're just meeting all those guys.
No, we knew. Yeah, well, no, they were always in the studio hanging around.
Yeah.
And George Harrison had a record company there, Dark Horse, at the A&M lot. So we hung with him all the time.
Oh, really? Good guy?
Yeah, it was good. Got good weed, you know. Had beetleweed.
Beetleweed. Yeah. All right, so you do the movie. The first movie was amazing. The best line in that movie, though, for me, yeah, you just took more acid than anyone I've ever seen. What are you doing for the next month?
I hope you're not busy for the...
Well, that was part of our stage act, so we were trying to figure out how to... Now we had to reconvert the stage act to movies.
Oh, boy.
And so we had to make up, you know...
That was funny,
It was
man.
the same process as the records. Okay, we had some things were going to work and some things we just had to make up for.
Sure.
But once we got to movies, that was it for me. I mean, I was like, this is the guitar.
Yeah.
We should be playing this guitar all the time. This is what we do. We're great on this one because it uses everything we could do.
And you guys were fucking huge. No one was bigger than you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At that time, you know.
Yeah.
But it was, you know, it was funny because we came out with a record, and then the records went, and it was stage act. We're always working stage. We had a big concert, yeah. And then, you know, after a while, it was 6th, 7th album, it started going down. And just as it started, like, getting a little seedy, we got into the movies.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
And then
we didn't want to do Australia. We had done Australia 3 times, and I said, I don't want to go back.
You don't want to end up there.
No, what happens is that you lose summer.
Yeah.
See, you're there for their winter, and then you're back here for our winter, and then you're there for their winter, and you're back here for our winter. We lost 3 summers.
Yeah, so you didn't want to have to do Australia.
Yeah.
But we had to be on the road because we had to make money because we were broken up with Adler, and that was costing us a lot of money in lawsuits.
Really?
Oh yeah.
What you guys? What do you mean? Was not you couldn't just say we're done? How many more records did you have? Did you have on contract?
No, it was the movies that we were signed for, like 6, 7 movies. Well, that was some.
So he came after you.
No, he didn't want.
No, well, it's really confidential.
Okay,
you know,
okay,
so,
that's fine.
So
that's
it was
fine.
just a lot.
We
of
broke
shit.
up.
Just show
a lot of
business.
shit that happened.
You and Adler broke up,
and then we're back together. We're
you
back
guys
with
cool?
Adler.
Oh,
yeah, we
we're
do stuff
back
with
with
Adler
Lou.
all the time. Yeah.
So what happened with you guys though? Because was that volatile? Was that
Yeah.
what?
It always was. We were always arguing.
But how did you end up how did it end up stopping? I mean, what happened?
Well, you know us. We're not like best friends. Oh, you guys must be best friends. You know each other
worked
forever.
yeah.
We were brothers. So you can fight with your brother,
Sure.
You know, but he's still your brother,
Sure.
I mean,
Right,
and that's really the kind of the connection we have, you know.
Right.
So it got, I don't know, you come to a point where you just don't want to hear what the other guy has to say, you know. Both of us, you know. Kind of.
Well, I think what happened is that Cheech got divorced, and I was part of the divorce settlement. You know. Okay, you get Chong, and I get the house.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good deal.
So when you guys broke up though, or whenever you had to fight, or where you stopped working together, you know, was it like we're not talking to each other?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah,
And you started doing TV. Is that about the time?
I did another movie.
Yeah.
I did Born in East LA.
Right.
Because I had done the record and then,
Sure.
got offered contract to do this. So.
Is that what pissed you off or no?
Yeah, totally. Because you know we had done everything else. You know,
right.
You know, I directed all the other movies.
Yeah,
you know, And I thought we had a deal. You know, I thought we had a thing going. You know?
Yeah.
And then Cheech came to me and he said, you know, I got an offer to do another movie. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I said, well, then,
Fuck you.
Yeah. See you later.
See you later. Okay, I'll see you.
All right, so you do that. You do TV, and when did you guys? You know, what was the? How'd you guys make up?
Well, we tried before.
Yeah.
Before that, the timing was off. You know,
Yeah.
there was a time when Cheech, we almost got back together a couple of times.
Yeah.
But I was going in another direction at the time, and he was going to, you know. Then we never really meshed.
You mean you were becoming an activist more? Or?
No. I was first of all, I went it took me a couple of years sitting around trying to figure out what I wanted to do. You know,
Yeah.
I put a band together for a minute. And
Yeah.
I sure didn't want to do that. And then I started doing stand-up.
I remember you were touring. I mean, I used to do the same clubs as you do.
Dennis Miller. I was in Vancouver in 1991 for New Year's.
Yeah.
And I happened to be at the same club as Dennis Miller.
Yeah.
And I said, "What you up to?" And he said, "Well, you know, I'm doing stand-up. I'm working tomorrow at this club." And I said, "Oh, I'll come down and see you." So I went down, and he's a real funny little guy. You know, he's in the dressing room, and he's kind of pacing back and forth. And he said to me, he says, so I went backstage, and he said to me, he says, "Do you get nervous before you go on?" And I hadn't been on for about 5-6 years.
Yeah.
On stage, and I said,
Alone.
Yeah. And I says, "No." You know, I kind of smiled at him, and then he had to be alone, you know. So then I sit in the audience, and he gets on stage, and he's doing the singing, and he started doing kind of like Cheech and Chong kind of dope things, you know. And halfway through, he goes, "What am I doing?" I mean, you know, he was so out of his realm, you know. And I just watched him, and I said, "I got to do this.
Yeah,
I got to do this. You know, I got to get that mic. I got to get on stage, and I got to do it."
Yeah.
And so I think as soon as I got back to L.A., I started. I went on. The first time I went on stage was the night after Rodney King got beat, and that was my first bit. I had my little sports jacket on. You know, I get on stage, and I started doing a bit about Rodney King. The mothers of the cops, you know, they're excited that their son's on TV, and halfway through my bit, some guy goes, "Hey, where's Cheech?" And I looked down at him, and I said, "Oh, I got work to do." So then the next night, I think it was the next night, I got 5 minutes at the Laugh Factory, and Kennison heard that I was on stage, and he was a big fan. Oh, and right away, you know, I mean, he took over. Yeah. And there's a guy on stage, people just quit looking at him, they're looking around, and Kennison, and I says, "You going to do some times then?" He said, "For you, I'll do it. He gets on stage, and he gets up there, and people start leaving. "Hey, don't walk out on me, you cunt, you whore, you bitch, you pussy." But Kennison and I ended up working some gigs together. We did a New Year's Eve gig together, and we did and he wanted to go out as Screech and Chong.
Screech and Chong.
Yeah.
But what did you, like, when you were doing solo, I mean, did you miss him?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I would phone him sometimes from the stage.
From the stage,
So you guys started to get along again that way?
No, not really.
Not really. He wasn't that thrilled to hear me.
I'm on stage right now, man.
Yeah.
We'd sit there and listen to him in bed.
Yeah.
My wife and I would come on the phone, and they would be, recording. They would be recording. And the first couple times I got up and answered. Yeah. "Hey, how you doing? Hey, man. Hi. Hey, how you doing?" And so then he kept recalling. "No, we used to now we're not going to do it."
The audience would say hi to Cheech. Everybody, "Hi, Cheech."
So you hear that on the machine?
Oh, yeah. My wife and I be laying in bed listening because it was, like 12 o'clock at night.
Then I just went on the road, and I didn't like being alone.
Yeah.
You know, you're so vulnerable, you know, because you got people, "Hey, come on, I'm taking you somewhere."
You're in a trailer.
You got no choice, you know. And I stayed at the Comedy Condo a few times, and it was hell.
But that must have been a pretty humbling experience to be, you know, as popular as you guys were. I mean, you know, comedy superstars. And then you choose to do a solo act. Because I remember when you were going around, I'd go around, I'd see you on the schedule, and then you're doing that. You know, you're back in that. Yeah. I mean, you're probably at a place where you weren't since you were in music. You literally staying, like, you know, in the Comedy Condo with the other guy, and there's, you know.
I loved it.
Oh, you did, but you didn't like being alone.
He liked prison. I knew he'd be fine.
I loved every minute of it. I just didn't like being vulnerable,
right?
You know, and so then I got a gig in Guam, you know, and so told my wife, I says, "Come on, let's go," and she goes, "I don't want to go," and I said, "Why not?" And she goes, "I don't want to just sit there and wait for you," you know, and so I said, "Well, how about if I put you in the show?" And she's an actress, you know, her eyes lit up, said, "Okay."
Yeah, and that's
And
what
so I put her.
Can
in
I
the show.
sing?
Yeah. And so she would sing.
We would sing.
Up in Smoke. She
Oh,
would sing Up
really?
in Smoke.
Oh,
Oh
man.
my God! And it was a struggle. You know?
baby.
But the rest of the audience is singing along too. So it
Well,
didn't matter.
so Cheech, I mean, what was your feeling when he was going through this? Did you feel like, oh man, Tommy's struggling or anything like that? Or
No, I would hear about him doing gigs and that he was doing, but I was very busy, doing other stuff and getting my whole trip together, and it was like after Born East L.A., which was a hit and everything. But I thought, well, I'm on my way, and then zoop, Universal came to me, which put out Born East L.A. Says, oh, we really love what you're doing, and we want you to be part of this family and blah blah blah, and we really understand. I said, well, already I got this other idea here with no, we want you to do this movie with you and a dog. Well, that's not what I was supposed to be Woody Allen, not me and a dog, And so I turned it down, and then
no, really,
and then nothing. That's all I got to have to get some other gig, and in Hollywood you go start to develop stuff, and it takes a long time to develop it, and you go down blind alleys, and then it stops, and you go, oh fuck, I got to walk all the way back, and a year has gone by,
right,
and so years gone by. Then I did a couple gigs, different gigs, and then I wasn't working, and then I wasn't working and I was like, yeah, fuck, man, this is. Then I started getting movies. In a row. I got
the golf movie.
No, this was before that. I started working with Robert Rodriguez.
And
because he was a fan, and he came and I met him when he first came to town. They said, I'm this young movie maker. And hey, well, I want you to be in my movie. So, well, when you get a budget, give me a call. He gives me a call and says, I want you to be in this movie Desperado. Come on down, So I was in a movie Desperado, and then I did another movie that he wrote but didn't direct it called The Great White Hype. That Ron Shelton wrote it, but who did it? Oh, Reggie Hudlin directed it. But so then and then I got Tin Cup, which Ron Shelton wrote and directed. Like, oh wow. Boom, and then and I made a big movie. It was a big hit. Oh, this is great. And then Don Johnson and he was on it. I had known him for a long time. And he says, I'm doing this TV show. I want you to be in it. And, so went from the set of Tin Cup to the set of Nash Bridges, and I was there for the next 6 years.
It's interesting though. You get this opportunity as being a big comedy force because Kennison ran into the same trouble. They're like, we want you to do a dog movie, and then Kennison had that opportunity to be Nanook with some goof movie that he blew, and that was he's like, fuck it, and that was the end of his movie thing too. That you don't want to sell out. You got to limit.
The thing in movies is that I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're fucking Spielberg. You have to reinvent the wheel every single time. And they come in. All these great directors at the end of their career, they can't get any movie financed. Kurosawa or Francis Ford Coppola or anything because that's not what the kids are buying today. They want that. Can you be it on a spaceship? Can the Godfather on outer space? How about that? So it's always a struggle to.
So you were just after both of you, after everything that happened in your lives, you ended up just sort of working.
Yeah.
And then what? You opened up the business that got you into trouble. When did that happen?
The bong business.
Yeah.
Well, it was actually my son's business.
Yeah.
I was just a front man. I was just a pitcher.
And you ended up, taking a hit. Because made an example of.
They wanted to make it. They needed a name. And
that's not the kind of marquee attention you want, right?
Well, it's funny. I was talking to the guy that did the documentary, Josh Gilbert. A week before I got busted, I told Josh, I need something to revitalize my career. Some gimmick. A week later, I got busted.
Should have come out.
That was it. You got. That was the hook.
And that's what did it.
It
revitalized my career. Gave me a whole 10 years of material.
How much time did you do?
I did 9 months.
Was it bad?
No, it was great.
Yeah, people like you in prison.
He went to Camp Cupcake.
Did he? It was federal prison, but it wasn't. It was
a retreat, really.
So you got in shape.
I spent more time in the sweat lodge and.
Really?
And I had you talk about pottery. The head of the gardener found a big chunk of clay, and they built a little station for me out in the garden.
Yeah.
And I'd go out there every day and just play in the clay and make bongs.
Oh, yeah. Were you guys in touch when he was in prison?
Yeah. Well, we were working on a movie before he gets busted, because periodically we would try to redo the thing, and then we'd always come arguing and fuck you.
Yeah.
And so we were working on a movie right when he got busted.
Yeah.
He says, I got to go away for a little while. I'm going to go on vacation.
Yeah.
Where are you, in the Bahamas? No, Taft.
Yeah.
And so he went to Taft, and so I go to visit him, and waiting for him to get out.
Yeah. So now where are we at now with you guys? What are you up to?
We're working on our live show with War
and Tower of Power. We just started doing a bunch of that, and it's going great. We just played the Greek Saturday night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and we got tremendous reviews. Everything's good, It's almost like a play.
Yeah, because we integrate with the bands.
Yeah.
We do bits with them, both of them, and our bits in between.
And the great thing about it is that because you have so many people, you only have time for your greatest hits.
Sure.
And so you don't have to sit through a lot of boring shit.
That's great, man. And you doing a new record or no?
No, we haven't.
Not really.
Not really thought about it?
We'll probably do a TV show, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Movie.
We're looking at. We got a few options.
There might be a documentary coming.
I think what's evolving now, is that there's a few things that we can't do again. Which is you can't be young again.
Yeah.
You can't do it the first time again.
Yeah. You can only do that 3 times.
Yeah.
And the great thing about Cheech and Chong is that every time we break new ground.
Yeah.
Like we did just now with Tower of Power.
Okay.
It's a great show. I mean, everybody is there. We're playing like 6,000, 7,000, 5,000 seats. I'm packing them, selling them out, and it's great. And people stay to the very end, and it's like. That's unbelievable.
That's a blast. So you guys are working, you're having a good time, you're in good health.
Yeah, and we're looking at projects,
Yeah.
But we're looking at them without any desperation.
Yeah, we got to really want to do it, and the right one will come along.
And you got wisdom now, and you guys are back on track. You seem to be getting along.
Yeah.
Well, it's great. It was an honor to talk to you.
Our pleasure.
Yeah.
I'm hungry.
All right. Well, I know some Mexican places.
Okay.
Okay, man. Take care.
How amazing was that? How amazing was Cheech and Chong? Huh? Did you even assume that story? Could you have even known that story? Huh? Could you? I don't think so. That was a spectacular treat for me to talk to those guys. Hey, listen, people, get on board with Hulu Plus and get total control of thousands of TV shows wherever you want, whenever you want. You can binge on full seasons of shows, watch stuff you just missed, or see every episode of classic shows. They've got The Colbert Report, Bob's Burgers, Parks and Rec, the classics like The Cosby Show, WKRP in Cincinnati, Chappelle's Show. It goes on and on and on. Hulu Plus is only $7.99 per month when you go to huluplus.com/WTF. And right now, get an extended free trial of Hulu Plus that is only available to podcast listeners. That's huluplus.com/WTF for your extended free trial. And I will be home. I will be home on Monday. On Monday, I talk to David Sedaris. Next Thursday, I talk to Nick Cave. Go to WTF Pod for all your WTF Pod needs. I put the mug and the coffee deal up there. I had a potter, the guy who makes the mugs that I give to guests on the show, made me a bunch, and I didn't even announce it, and they're already gone. So I'm making more of those for you. You can go look at them and get excited about them if you want. Leave a comment, kick in a few shekels, buy some merch, do what you got to do.